can't tell you how excited I am for this one because I'm here with Crosby, who's a dietitian for PCRM, also the creator of Veggie Quest.
Yes, that's correct.
And most importantly, an old classmate of mine.
Yes.
Which I'm
we
so
go way
excited.
Back.
Yeah, finally I'm able to have you on the show, so welcome.
Delighted to be here.
Yeah, so how are you enjoying the conference so far?
I love it. This is my favorite event of the year. I've only missed it a couple of times since it started. It's the most amazing group of people, incredible speakers, so thrilled to be here.
That's awesome. Yeah, I had the pleasure of listening in to your talk earlier about low carb diets, and I'm sure you know like how frustrating that is for me. Like, I don't know. Let's just
I do know.
Yes,
as it turns out.
Right. Let's just get into it. Do you want to just tell people maybe that are not familiar with low carb dieting? Just explain like briefly what that even is.
Sure. So there are a couple different definitions that get thrown around a lot. So low carb is basically any diet that takes you below the RDA, or the recommended dietary allowance for carbohydrate. That's at about 130 grams of carbs, or it's about 25% of calories, on a typical diet. Anything below that level, that's the level that is needed to keep the brain running on glucose, which is its preferred fuel, so to keep it running on a carbohydrate. Anything below that, and you may not have enough carbohydrate to reliably run the brain. And so that's what makes it low carb. So the thing is, okay, well, if the brain needs glucose or it needs a substitute, so what's the substitute? So the substitute is ketone bodies. So this is where you hear about keto diets or ketogenic diets. They are literally diets that have so little carbohydrate and so much fat that the body's emergency system, the backup system, kicks in. So, and it takes a couple days because the brain would really, really like to run on glucose. Thanks anyway.
Well, you said the original ketogenic diet is famine.
It's the most potent inducer of ketosis that we have. Yeah, that's what it's there for.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, but of course, like the ketogenic diet's not the only low carb diet.
Nope.
I know there's the high protein diet, and there's so many variations. But that I'm pretty much that's the gist of it.
Yep.
Now, it's like this movement is bigger than ever with the low carb dieting.
Yeah.
And there's people claiming that saturated fat is healthy for you. Dietary cholesterol is not that important because it doesn't affect your serum cholesterol. So let's kind of go into that.
No, yeah,
thoughts.
This is not something that should be encouraged. Saturated fat still increases risk for heart disease and Alzheimer's disease and type 2 diabetes, all kinds of things. No, saturated fat is not healthy. Dietary cholesterol is not necessary. It's not healthy. These are not. I don't understand how, whose marketing department where somehow managed to make these things, somehow good again, but they're not.
Well,
they
telling
never have
people
been.
good things about their bad habits.
Well, that's popular, sure. Okay,
Right.
I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Yeah. All
so
right.
people want to hear that, and of course they want to eat butter and lots of dairy. So
yeah, not in their health interest.
Right. So yeah, most of that's coming from animal products. Like these diets, these low carb diets are high in like meat and dairy.
Typically, yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you've seen this documentary. It's called The Magic Pill. It just came out a few months ago.
Is this the one on keto diets?
Yeah, it's on Netflix.
I think I did. Yes, I think I did. Yep.
So like I want to be sympathetic at the same time with like people that are actually on it and claiming that they're feeling better, because like I don't want to disregard that. So what do you think it is about these types of diets that are helping people, and is it actually healthy for them?
Well, okay, so the only the only evidence-based, condition at this point in time that we really have solid data for in terms of the risks being outweighed by the benefits are for drug-resistant seizures. That's actually where this whole keto diet thing got started. The keto diet was originally a therapeutic diet for drug-resistant seizures. So for someone who's having 10 seizures a day, to be able to get, to cut that in half by going on a ketogenic diet, that makes a lot of sense. It's in terms of some of the other conditions out there, there's just not a lot of good data. There's a lot of symptomatic improvement in, say, type 2 diabetes. And by symptomatic, I mean just reducing blood sugar. So some people will get improvements in blood sugar, and they'll say, wow, I'm able to get off of my medications or cut way back. But it's not because they've fixed the underlying problem. They've just taken the amount of carbohydrate or amount of sugar that goes into their blood way down to the point that, well, of course they have to lower their blood glucose lowering medications, or their blood sugar would go so low it would be dangerous. But they haven't actually fixed the underlying cause. So if they tried to eat something like beans or whole grains or even, a sweet potato, their blood sugar would very likely skyrocket. So I do understand that some people will feel better on these diets and get some symptomatic improvements, but oftentimes they're missing the bigger picture, which is a lot of increase in like a long-term risk for things like heart disease. And again, heart disease is the number one killer of people with diabetes, so that doesn't make it out there a lot.
Right.
We have some pretty good data that low-carb diets are associated with the risk of dying, increased risk of dying from all causes. So
yeah, all-cause mortality.
Yeah, so this is not something that we really want to be encouraging for people. And some people, when they go on a keto diet, they will have a good reason. Some people are lactose intolerant. Well, keto diets, lactose is milk sugar. They tend to take out a lot of milk sugar, so they're not getting this thing that they couldn't digest anymore, and suddenly they feel better.
Right, that makes sense.
Yeah, or someone could have, 1 in 100 people has celiac disease. A lot of them are not diagnosed. They don't know that they have it. And then when they go on a keto diet or a low-carb diet and they take wheat and, all the gluten grains out of their diet, they magically feel better, but it's not magic. It's because they had an underlying health condition. So there are some legitimate reasons people might feel better, but I'd feel a lot better myself if people could just target those reasons and then get on a health-promoting diet long-term instead.
Right, that makes sense. And I think in your talk you said you called it the Band-Aid effect.
It absolutely is.
Because it only covers up like the symptoms.
Yep.
Like you were talking about blood sugar. It takes the carbs out of the diet. Your blood sugar should drop, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a good thing.
Correct. Yeah, they aren't necessarily tolerant of carbohydrates. They've just taken all the carbohydrates out of their diet. And again, the problem with that is that in order to live a long, healthy life, we know that these foods are, things like whole grains and beans and fruits and vegetables. These are the foods associated with health and longevity. You would hope to reintroduce them at some point, and the concern here is that they wouldn't be able to tolerate them. Their blood sugar would go right back up.
Right.
Yep.
And going back to another point you made with like seizures and epilepsy, because I remember when we were in school, like they would talk about that, and like for therapeutic uses they use ketogenic diets.
Right.
What is the science on like vegan ketogenic diets? Because I personally haven't seen too much. I know it's a growing movement itself.
Yeah.
Do you know much about that, or?
So there is no study that I know of or have seen, or that I've talked to other people too, just to make sure, on a vegan keto diet per se. There is one study on an Eco-Atkins diet. It's not ketogenic per se. It's low carb, and I mean it's right on the borderline of low carb. So it provides 130 grams of carbohydrate per day. And then in terms of fat content, these keto diets are usually 70% and above. And this diet, I think, is in like the 43-45% range fat. So it's not, and then the rest of it's coming from plant protein. So it's not ketogenic, very likely. They didn't measure ketone bodies, but the assumption here, it's higher in carbs than a keto diet would be, and it's higher in protein than, a keto diet to be maximally ketogenic would be. So it's not, we don't know, but I will say this, that compared to, they compared it to a standard American vegetarian diet, so eggs and dairy.
Okay.
And it actually did a little better than that kind of diet, which wasn't really optimal, but it did better than that kind of diet in terms of, it actually did slightly decrease bad cholesterol, which interestingly, most times with keto diets, even though people are losing weight, their bad or LDL cholesterol will increase.
Right, that just blows my mind.
I know, it's not the way it's supposed to work.
Doesn't make sense.
So there is some data that it's better, but I will also say that this trial, they didn't just put people on a vegan, low carb diet. They also gave them some functional foods to help lower cholesterol even further. So they encouraged them to eat lots of sources of soluble fiber. And for the first month, I think they actually did provide them food. So they had some cholesterol lowering components in the diet, along with just making it vegan. I mean, of course, if someone's going to do a keto diet, I'd really rather they didn't. But if they had some real need to do it, it's probably better if it were vegan. I can feel pretty confident saying that, but we don't have any actual studies. I also want to say, though, keto diets are not nutritionally sound. I mean, they require these therapeutic ketogenic diets for kids. They use them for adults, too. They require hospitalization during the initiation phase for the most part. So the most effective keto diets, it's called a classic keto diet, and that's actually a medically specific term, that needs to be started in a hospital setting. So
really?
there are lots of side effects when people start. They're not nutritionally complete. So it's just one of those things that really discourage people from doing unless they have one of those very specific reasons like drug-resistant seizures.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's leave the low carb conversation.
Yeah, I know.
Bit,
we can go on.
We can go on forever. Let's catch up a little bit. I remember 4 years ago we were at this conference.
Yep.
Just as students,
Yep.
and now we're all grown up.
I know.
And you're an RD for PCRM.
I am.
Tell us a little bit about that and kind of go into maybe a typical day for you as an RD, some of the things that you're working on.
Oh, wow. So I feel like there's no really typical day at PCRM, but I like it that way. I get to do so many different things. So I actually work 1 day a week in the clinic at Barnard Medical Center. So see people on an outpatient basis, help them do things like, weight loss and lowering cholesterol, but also working with things like autoimmune diseases, or if someone has, needs to try an elimination diet. We do all kinds of, we really get down into the, we get into the weeds and see what's going on and how we can help people improve their health by changing what they eat. So that's a 1 day of my week. And then the rest of the time, I get to do lots of different stuff. So I'm involved with our clinical research team. So we're running 2 studies right now. We have another couple in the pipeline. So that's a decent portion of my day. It's a lot of fun. So some of it's just the work that a dietitian would do on a study, but some of it is also in terms of helping
are you able to
consulting on protocol design and that kind of thing.
Are you able to tell us what you guys are studying on?
I don't know if we're allowed to tell yet. So I know what the studies
Really
we're currently running.
Uh-huh.
We're looking at one on the thermic effect of food, so how
that's pretty cool.
food influences metabolism, and then we're also running a study on rheumatoid arthritis, so diet for RA. So I know. Those we can talk about.
Sweet. That's cool.
Yeah, and let me see. So that's the clinical research side, but wait. And then my main project is nutritioncme.org, which is a site where anyone can actually go watch lots of great nutrition education videos, but it provides free continuing education credits for doctors, nurses, and dietitians.
Right.
So working on content for that. I do some communications work, so, doing things like interviews, or, occasionally I'll go on the local morning news and talk about healthy eating.
That.
Yeah, so it's a lot of fun. There are lots of other projects that come up throughout the course of I can't even, I lose track of it, and there are always things that come up that it's an exciting place to be working because you get to be involved in so many different aspects of nutrition care and sort of program planning and, communicating this message to more people, and just really, this is life-saving stuff. It prevents, people suffer in the hospital. It's just you look and you see what a bad diet can do to people. It's heartbreaking. So it feels so good to be somewhere where you can actually try and prevent that or ameliorate it if it's already gotten started. Yeah.
No, totally. I mean, I was volunteering for PCRM after we were done classes.
Yeah.
Just because the amazing work that they're doing, spreading this message, it was just so gratifying to be part of that. I should say lots of writing work too.
Okay, so we do fact sheets and all that kind of stuff, and I'll do patient handouts and all those sorts of things. So,
I want to ask you, because this is a common question I get often, is advice for people that want to go into nutrition or to become an RD. What career tips would you have for them? Who is this for, and what can they expect?
Oh, wow. That's a big question. Career tips, if you're just starting out or even thinking about it, go ahead and get your basic science classes out of the way. They're not as scary as they sound. So things like biology and chemistry and biochem, just jump on in.
Oh, boy.
Again, they sound people get this fear response, but it's not. I mean, again, it's doable. It's a lot of studying, but it's fine. It's good. And this is a great career if you're intellectually curious. So if you want to learn more, if you want to read the studies and really dig into what's happening and not just read the headlines, but get underneath and see what they actually do in this study. What did they actually find? Does it count? Is it clinically useful? This is an awesome career for that. So getting into science, going ahead and reading up on the nutrition literature now. If you haven't been to PubMed, go ahead and put that into Google, and you will get to the PubMed, I think it's .gov, don't quote me on that, database, and you can really look at anything. A lot of the summaries of all these, peer-reviewed literature kinds of articles are in there.
You could just do a search, type in whatever topic you want, and papers will come up.
Yep, and if you don't know what the terminology is that they're talking about, that's the beauty of the internet. You just go look it up. So yeah, those are my tips. And also, any age, like I'm a career changer. You don't have to do this. Now I have a background in biology, so that helps, but there are certainly people, and we were in school, who are coming to this later in life because it's so fascinating, and there is so much, there's capacity where you can really help people. So, yeah.
And one thing I'm going to add to that is just looking for like a support group, because like I feel like our class was like really supportive in general.
So great.
And the fact that we had, what was it, like 2 or 3 other vegan girls in there.
And vegetarian on top of that.
Right, vegetarian, like just different people, different backgrounds, but everybody was understanding of like the plant-based diet. People were just really open. So I would just say finding a support group, like a group of people that you can kind of just stick with and, like study with, gossip with, like there's so much stuff that comes out. Yeah, so I think like having a support group is so important.
It's huge. Listen to him on this one. And I will say this guy was the first plant-based nutrition person I met at where we did classes. I was so relieved to be like, some of the information that we got, it was very sort of standard nutrition curriculum. And I understand, great, that's where they come from, but it was so nice to have someone to talk to who knew some of this other science. It was it was so great.
So I want to go into that story because we were sitting in our community nutrition class. And I was just sitting in the corner minding my own business, as I always have done. And people like
Are you going to embarrass me?
No. So I think this is going to be really cool. Like everybody was going around saying, hi, my name is so-and-so, and I'm interested in this specific topic for nutrition. And you had gone before I did. And you said, hi, my name's Lee, and I'm interested in plant-based nutrition for preventing or reversing diseases. Something like that.
True story. That's about right. That sounds about like what I would say. Yeah.
And I was like, holy crap. Like, I looked immediately at you. And I'm like, oh, my gosh. Is this person, like,
we
really
need to talk.
in here? And so it came around to my turn, and I said pretty much the exact same thing. And you turn around, and you're like...
That is also something I would do.
So funny. But, sometimes you just gotta like talk to people, find out what they're really interested, because you never know. Like, there might be a vegan or somebody interested in plant-based nutrition right in there.
Yep, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, yeah, we'll go ahead and wrap this up, Lee. And I just want to get like you to talk about like a typical day of eating, what that kind of looks like for you, just so people can get an idea of like the type of foods that people should be eating.
Okay. I'm not a paragon of nutritional perfection all the time, but usually I do a pretty good job, I think. This throws some people, but it's actually really good. I start my breakfast with a salad, but it's not like a salad with like Italian dressing or something. It's a salad with like baby greens or baby spinach, and I put some ground flaxseed on it, and I've got this great, it's called a fig vincado vinegar, but it's like a slightly sweeter vinegar over top of that. Melon chunks or berries, whatever goes on top of that. I actually keep the fig vinegar at work and just do it right there at my desk. And then I always have a bowl of hot cereal. It's usually, oatmeal, something along those lines, cinnamon, all kinds of good stuff in there. And then I top it with frozen blueberries. So you get this whole like hot, cold thing going on. It's amazing. It sounds weird. Try it. You'll like it. Okay, so that's breakfast. I might have a snack, but usually I don't. Lunch. Okay, so lunch I fall a little bit. It's not, totally oil-free because, life is busy. You got to make some compromises. So I usually do one of those Amy's, bean and rice burritos just because it's so easy. I'll do that. I'll do it with a big salad, a piece of fruit. I usually cap it off with a cup of almond milk hot chocolate, and I sweeten it with stevia or Truvia, something. So I'm like, it's not optimal, but I need my chocolate, and that's a much healthier way to get it. And then afternoon snack, I'll usually do like veggies or some, just rice cakes or crackers and hummus. Super easy. And then dinner's kind of whatever we feel like. Sometimes we'll order in like vegan sushi or pick it up, from Whole Foods. Got the brown rice, so it's not bad. And we'll do, with steamed edamame and a big salad. A big salad happens at every meal in my house. We've got a garden going this summer, so lots of veggies in the salad. I know.
That's something I missed out this year.
Oh, that's too bad. I started. Yeah. So we'll do a no cheese pizza. We'll get it's a relatively whole grain, gluten-free crust. Right. I did gluten-free for a while. It's a long story. I don't anymore.
That's a topic in itself.
Exactly. Yeah. But I'm still hooked on this crust. It's a smart flour crust, so I actually have to special order it. They used to carry it at Whole Foods. Anyways, not important. Loads of really good pizza sauce, lots of veggies on there, and then when it comes out of the oven, some fresh basil. So amazing. Tastes so good. And then for dessert, I will either do like the same hot almond milk, but instead of doing chocolate, I'll do carob because I need to sleep, and
okay.
I get affected
Good
by caffeine.
alternative,
Yeah.
right.
I should also say a cup of coffee in the morning.
Right.
But I've been trying to do the whole half caff
Not
thing lately.
bulletproof coffee, right?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Okay.
That was crazy.
It is crazy.
Yeah.
Anyways, this is critical what I eat. Come on.
Right.
No. But for dessert, I'll do like, this is going to make me sound like a weirdo actually, but like those frozen cherries that they have in the bags.
Okay.
You can just eat those right out of the bag. They're so good because they have a little tiny bit of the, they're pretty high in sugar content as fruit goes, and they have a little tiny bit of sugar alcohol in them naturally. What that does is keeps them from freezing hard. So in a normal setting freezer, they'll actually just be like a little bit chewy. Oh man, it's so good.
It's like a little crunchiness to them.
Yeah, but you can still chew it. It's not like you're going to crack your teeth on it or
Right.
something. So I'm a huge fan of that. I know. That's my weird dessert.
Well,
now you know.
That's very practical. Like, I feel like anybody could do that. Like, you didn't just tell me, like, some exotic foods or anything. These are foods that anybody can find,
I mean,
in their supermarket.
occasionally we'll do, like, we just got this cool cookbook, Teflove. It's an Ethiopian vegan cookbook. And I just make it without the oil.
Nice.
It's super easy. It's a great cookbook. But we're going to do that maybe once a week. We'll do, like, a big fancy thing and have leftovers. But, you know, on a normal weeknight, that's not happening.
Right.
Like, let's get real.
Well, hey, Lee, thank you so much for coming on. It was a real pleasure, and I know, like, you're super busy with the conference, but definitely come back anytime. Like, I know we've got so much to talk about.
I know, we need to catch up more.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, Lee.
All right. Great to
Appreciate
be
it.
here. Thanks, Tino.